The pen was shaking in my hand. My chest felt like someone was twisting a wet towel inside it, squeezing everything out. Melissa stood across the kitchen island, arms crossed, lips pressed so tight they almost disappeared. "Just sign it, Daniel. You're making this harder than it needs to be." The papers blurred. I couldn't breathe. My wife treated me like nothing more than a walking wallet, and when I got sick, she told me to sign the divorce papers. Hey everyone, my name is Daniel Ashcroft. I'm 42 years old, and up until about a year and a half ago, I thought I was living the life I was supposed to be living. I worked as a regional operations manager for a logistics company, pulled in a solid 6 figures, owned a 4-bedroom house with a pool out back, and had a wife named Melissa, who I'd been married to for 11 years. From the outside, we looked like the couple you'd see in a Sunday morning commercial. On the inside, I was drowning, and I didn't even know it yet. I met Melissa at a friend's barbecue back when I was 30. She was the loudest person there, telling stories with her hands, making everyone laugh. I was the quiet guy by the cooler, and she walked right up to me and said, "You look like you need someone to rescue you from boredom." I laughed. That obvious? Painfully. And just like that, she sat down next to me and stayed. We got married 2 years later. Small ceremony. Her family, mine, a few friends. I thought I'd won some kind of lottery. She was beautiful, funny, sharp. She also had expensive taste, which I didn't think much of in the beginning because I was earning well and I liked treating her. The first few years were genuinely good. We traveled, we had inside jokes, we'd stay up talking until 2 a.m. about nothing. Then somewhere around year 5, something shifted. It was a slow thing, the way water damage spreads inside a wall before the paint starts to bubble. It started with the house. "Daniel, we need to upgrade. This place is embarrassing when my sister comes over." "Embarrassing? It's 3 bedrooms, Mel. It's nice." "It's starter home nice, not grown-up nice." So we bought the bigger house. Then it was the car. "My Honda looks like something a college student drives." So we got her the SUV she wanted. Then her jewelry. Then her clothes. Then the renovations on the house we'd just bought. I kept saying yes, because saying yes kept the peace. I told myself she worked hard too, as a part-time interior consultant, although her income barely covered her own shopping. The first real crack came when my dad got sick. He had a stroke the summer of our 7th anniversary. I wanted to fly out and stay with my mom for a couple of weeks, and I asked Melissa to come with me. "Daniel, I can't just drop everything. I have the Henderson Project." "My dad just had a stroke, Mel." "And I'm sorry. I really am. But your mom has your sister. They don't need both of us there." I went alone. My mom hugged me at the airport, and the first thing she said was, "Where's Melissa?" I didn't have a good answer. Sometimes I realize now that the small moments are the ones that tell you everything. If I'd paid attention to that week, to the way she barely called, to how she seemed annoyed when I finally came home, exhausted and sad, I would have seen it. But I didn't want to see it. The years kept moving. I kept working. I kept paying. We tried for a baby around year 8, and it didn't happen. The doctor said there wasn't anything obviously wrong, it just wasn't happening for us. I took it harder than she did. She said, "Honestly, Daniel, I'm not sure I even want kids anymore. They ruin your body and your schedule. I remember sitting on the edge of our bed after she said that, feeling like I was married to a stranger. My best friend during all of this was a guy named Tobias Renner. We'd known each other since college. He was a contractor, and he was the kind of friend who'd show up at your door with a six-pack and no questions if you sounded off on the phone. One night, about 3 years ago, after he'd had a couple too many at my kitchen table, he said something I couldn't unhear. "Danny, I gotta ask you something, man, and don't get mad." "What?" "Do you actually like her? Like, forget love, forget the wedding. Do you actually like being around her?" I didn't answer right away, and my not answering was an answer. He nodded slowly. "Okay, just something to think about." That conversation lived in my head rent-free for months, but I pushed it down. I worked more. I stayed late at the office. I told myself I was building a future. Then came the sickness. It started in October of last year. I'd been feeling run down for weeks, tired all the time, which I blamed on my workload. Then the pain in my side. Then the weight loss. Then one morning I passed out in the kitchen pouring coffee, and Melissa found me on the tile. "Daniel, what the hell?" I'm okay. I just got dizzy." "Well, figure it out. You're scaring me." Not, "Let me take you to the hospital." Not, "How do you feel?" Just figure it out. I drove myself to urgent care that afternoon. They sent me to my primary, who sent me for scans, who sent me to a specialist. 3 weeks of appointments. And then the word that landed on my chest like a piano. Cancer. Pancreatic. Early stage, treatable, but aggressive. They wanted to start treatment within the month. I sat in my car in the parking lot after that appointment for almost an hour. I didn't cry. I didn't call anyone. I just sat there, watching people walk in and out of the building, thinking, this is one of those days you remember for the rest of your life. I went home and told Melissa in the living room. She was on the couch scrolling her phone. "Mel, I need to talk to you." "Mm-hmm." "Can you put the phone down, please?" She sighed, set it face down. "What?" "I have cancer." She blinked. "What?" "Pancreatic. Early. They want to start treatment soon." There was a pause, a long one. And then she said, Okay, so what does that mean for us? For work? For money?" I stared at her. "That's your first question?" "Daniel, I'm being practical. Someone has to be." Looking back now, I realize some people show you who they are in a single sentence, and all the years before were just you refusing to read it. The treatment started in November. Chemo. I'd never been so tired in my life. The kind of tired where lifting a glass of water feels like a job. My hair started thinning. I lost 15 pounds in the first 6 weeks. I took medical leave from work, which meant I was home. A lot. With her. And that's when I really saw it. Melissa didn't slow down for me. Not once. She still went to her spin class, still did brunch with her friends, still came home with shopping bags. I'd be on the couch under a blanket, nauseous, and she'd breeze in holding a designer box and say, "You should eat something. You look awful." One night, I asked her if she could drive me to my next chemo because I was getting lightheaded behind the wheel. "Daniel, I have the Patterson walkthrough that day." Can you move it? I've had it on the calendar for 3 weeks. I had cancer on the calendar for 3 months, Mel. She rolled her eyes. Don't be dramatic. I'll get you an Uber. Tobias started coming over. He'd drive me to chemo. He'd bring soup his girlfriend Caitlin had made. He'd sit in the infusion chair next to me for 4 hours, playing chess on his phone and pretending he wasn't watching me to make sure I didn't pass out. One afternoon, on the way home, he said, "Danny, I don't want to overstep." "You're gonna anyway." "Yeah," he laughed. "Your wife is a piece of work, man." "I know." "Do you, though?" I looked out the window. I'm starting to. Around late December, I started noticing strange things about our bank accounts. Withdrawals I didn't make. A new credit card I didn't know about. I didn't say anything at first. I just watched. I logged into everything, and what I found made my stomach drop harder than the chemo had. Melissa had been moving money. Not huge amounts all at once, but steadily for months. Into an account in her name only. Almost $70,000 over the past year. I confronted her on a Tuesday night. She was at the counter cutting up a salad. "Mel, can you explain the Citizens account?" She didn't even look up. "What are you talking about?" "The one in your name, with the transfers from our joint." Her knife paused. Then she started cutting again. "That's my emergency fund." "Your what?" "My emergency fund, in case something happens." "Something like what? Me dying?" She set the knife down. "Daniel, don't." "Don't what?" "Don't ask why my wife is hoarding money in a secret account while I'm getting poisoned every 2 weeks trying not to die?" "You're being hysterical." "I'm being accurate." She wiped her hands on a towel slowly, like she was deciding something. "Fine. You want the truth? I've been thinking about what happens if you can't work anymore. I need to be okay." We need to be okay." "Daniel," she looked me dead in the eye, "I'm not going to be a widow in a house I can't afford. I'm protecting myself." I remember standing there and feeling something inside me just quietly turn off, like a pilot light going out. 2 weeks later, she handed me the envelope. I'd just come home from chemo. I was on the couch. She walked in, set a manila envelope on the coffee table, and said, "I've been thinking. I had Greg look these over." Greg was her cousin, a lawyer. I opened it. Divorce papers. She'd already signed her half. She was asking for the house, half my retirement, spousal support, and the SUV. "You want the house." "I put a lot into that house, Daniel." "You spent a lot on that house. That's different." "Call it whatever you want. Just sign them." "Mel, I'm in the middle of treatment." "And I'm in the middle of my life. I can't put everything on hold for something. That might not even work." I laughed. It wasn't a real laugh. It was the kind of sound that comes out when you don't have any other sound left. "You're leaving me because I might die." "I'm leaving you because I can't do this. And honestly, Daniel, we both know we haven't been happy in years. This just speeds things up. So sign." That's when I was at the kitchen island, the pen shaking, my chest tight. Her across from me, arms crossed, the exact scene from the beginning of this video. I stood there for what felt like 10 minutes. I couldn't make my hand move. And then something in me settled. The panic drained out, and something cold and steady took its place. I set the pen down. No. Excuse me? No, I'm not signing anything today. I'm going to have my own lawyer look at this. And I'm going to have a forensic accountant look at the last 3 years of our finances. And then we'll talk. Her face changed. Daniel, don't make this ugly. You already did, Mel. I picked up the papers, put them back in the envelope, and walked upstairs. I learned that night that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stop performing the role someone cast you in. I'd been the wallet, the provider, the yes man for 11 years. I was done. I called Tobias that night. He was at my house in 20 minutes with a suitcase. Pack a bag, Danny. You're staying at my place till this is sorted. I stayed with him and Caitlin for the next 4 months. Caitlin, by the way, is a saint. She cooked for me. She made sure I took my anti-nausea meds. She'd sit with me and watch old movies when I couldn't sleep. She'd say things like, "You know you're going to be okay, right? Not just the cancer. All of it." I got a lawyer. A woman named Priscilla Tan, who took one look at the paperwork and said, "She's going to regret filing this." The forensic accountant found the $70,000, plus another $40,000 I hadn't even caught. It turned out Melissa had also been putting things on a business card in my name that she'd opened 2 years ago by forging my signature. That one was a crime. My lawyer was gentle about it. Daniel, you have options here. We can pursue this civilly, or we can involve law enforcement. That's your call. I thought about it for a week, and I decided I wasn't going to be quiet anymore. We filed a police report for the forged card. The divorce shifted immediately. Suddenly, Melissa wasn't the one making demands. She was the one trying to settle. The treatment, meanwhile, was working. My scans in March came back clean. My oncologist, a soft-spoken guy named Dr. Weintraub, smiled at me across the desk and said, "Daniel, I don't say this often, but this is as good as it gets." I sat in my car in the parking lot again, just like the day I got diagnosed. Same lot, same spot. Only this time I cried. Hard. For about half an hour. I called my mom first, then Tobias, then Caitlin. I did not call Melissa. The divorce finalized in June. I kept the house. She didn't get spousal support because by then her little forgery problem had given my lawyer enough leverage that Melissa's own lawyer told her to take the deal and run. She didn't get the retirement either. She got her SUV and what was in her personal accounts. The forgery charge moved forward separately. She ended up pleading down to a lesser charge, probation, restitution, and a mark on her record that was going to make getting licensed in anything financial or real estate related nearly impossible. Her interior consulting work dried up within a few months, because word travels in those circles faster than you'd think. Last I heard, she'd moved in with her sister 3 states over. I didn't feel good about any of it. I didn't feel bad either. I just felt like the books had finally balanced. I realize now that I didn't lose my marriage the day she handed me those papers. I lost it in 1,000 small moments over a decade. Every time I said yes when I meant no. Every time I pretended not to see what I saw. The papers were just the receipt. I'm healthy now. I'm back at work, part-time, slowly building back up. I live in the house by myself, and it's quiet in a good way. I see Tobias and Caitlin almost every weekend. My mom comes to stay for a week every couple of months. So let me ask you something. Have you ever stayed somewhere, a job, a friendship, a relationship, long after you knew in your gut it was done? What finally made you walk away, or what's still holding you there? Drop it in the comments. I read them.